Oof, that camera. Very slow on that computer. Oh, well. All right. So, this is another edition of Lunch Zone. We are back from spring break. My name is David Kutchik. I'm a PhD candidate in English at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee.
I'm Brian Thomas. I'm a PhD student in anthropology at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee.
Today we're going to be playing some Rayman Legends. Before we start, I'm going to recite our land acknowledgement, which I think I know. So we acknowledge that in Milwaukee, we live and work on traditional Potawatomi, Ho-Chunk, and Menominee homelands along the southwest shores of Michigami, part of North America's largest system of freshwater lakes where the Milwaukee, Menominee, and Kinnickinnic rivers meet, and the people of Wisconsin sovereign Anishinaabe, Ho-Chunk, Menominee, Oneida, Mohican nations remain present. There's also, I don't have the link for it and I'm too far away from the computer now, but there's also an Indigenous Game Devs website. Like, you can just Google it, Indigenous Game Devs, run by Megan Blythe Adams.
It's got some really cool edutainment games.
Yeah.
As well as some just cool games in general.
Yes. So this month we were doing all multiplayer games. We're finishing with some Rayman Legends because it's the only other game on my Switch that is multiplayer. But I enjoy it. I love a 2D platformer. But I was kind of hoping to get the N64 or the SNES or something going, but unfortunately,
tech problem.
We're still having our tech problems. Yeah. And so I think in this game, I forget if it's a competition or if I think you're just kind of like helping each other out. Because I think what happens is at the end, they just add up everybody's point total and that's your score. Kind of like...
Oh, I can slap you though.
Look at that teamwork. Ooh.
I think I found a secret door.
Let's go.
I've never played a Rayman game. I don't know what I'm doing, but...
I mean, most platformers, if you're going to have a secret door, it's pretty
There's
standard.
a door that you have to find. It's a secret door with treasure in it. No!
Oh, we saved the good monster. Apparently there's evil ones that look like that, and there's good ones that look like that. Ooh.
I don't know if that's an extra life or what.
Yeah, I think it's like an extra hit. Ooh. There we go.
Well, it's got some Donkey Kong Country vibes with its multi-layer backdrops.
Yeah, I really enjoy the new Donkey Kong Country games. I don't have it for the Switch though. I have them for the Wii U.
What is that? Arctic
Tropical Freeze.
Tropical Freeze.
Yeah.
I've seen some GDQs of it.
Yeah, it's really tough, but really good. See, like designing platformers, I think overall, it's kind of your basic actions that you're doing, right? It's like almost always go to the left or go to the right. Usually to the right.
Sometimes they mix it up and it's like go up or down.
Yeah, but for the most part, right, it's you go to the right. So it's like, how are you going to kind of add on to that? How are you going to add on to that formula, right? And that's why things like the kind of the parallax, not the parallax, but whatever you said, right? Where it's like you bounce from the foreground to the background and back, right? That's another add-on you can do, or collectibles or things like that, special puzzles, those kinds of things. Ooh. Ooh, here we go. And then when you add like multiplayer to it too, so there's like a Mario game that, or basically all the Super Mario Bros, like I forget what they call it, New Super Mario Brothers U, or things like that. They also have these like multiplayer things where if you get hit and you go in the lava, right, then you can hit me and I get restored. Right, and that's a pretty common thing with these like multiplayer ones as well. Because that way you still get to. Oops, there we go.
Are you controlling our friend, or is he?
I think either of us can.
I
You
haven't
try.
been. Oh, okay, I see.
Ooh, can't go more that way. Oop. There we go. I think I found another. We found a secret door too.
Oh, look at that.
I mean,
these secret doors aren't super secret.
No. All right. Ooh, gosh. Okay. Here we go. Oop. Oop. Sorry. All right. I'll rotate it. Oop. All right, you should be good to jump in. Yeah. I don't know if Donkey Kong Country was the first to do things like this, but like where you have like the little mini puzzle.
Oh, sure.
But you go through the secret door and you have this like mini puzzle in the 2D platformer. I'm sure there's been other games that have done it before, but they just remind me a lot of the original Donkey Kong Country. Ooh, pirate coin. Oop. Ooh, wall jump, classic.
Wall jump and hover mechanics.
Mm-hmm. And of course, these are all things that have been done before, right?
Sure.
Like Super Mario 64 is most famous for the wall jump. I can't say for sure they did the first wall jump ever in games, right? But that's kind of like the common nomenclature is like that's one of the first.
The first I know of is Mega Man X.
Oh, really? Was that when was
Super
that?
NES.
Yeah.
They had the wall jump there. You had to get the special boots.
Ooh, we got them all. Okay. For some reason our guy does not want to. Oops. Oh no. Okay. There we go. Whoop.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I didn't know I could, like, hurt you that much. Sorry.
You did a combo.
Oh! Oh, you can bounce on him. I did not know that. It's interesting. I'm thinking about, like, when I get injured, right? And I turn into this little blubber ball balloon thing, right? In the Super Mario games, it's you are in like a little bubble, like a floating bubble, right? And so it's like Rayman, you know, it has this kind of like, I don't want to say like more, I don't know, not edgy, but like eclectic. I don't know. It just makes more sense that rather than floating in like this nice little bubble, right, that you're like turned to this weird little blob thing.
Oh, sure. That you become inflated and
yeah, it's like eccentric or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's just making me think about like all the different themes and variations, right, of these platformers, which I'm sure is the same with any game. I mean, like with TTRPGs too, right? It's all theme and variation for that.
I mean, it has to be, right? Like the theme is the only thing that you can really claim as intellectual. There's been a lot of debates recently because of some discussion over open gaming licenses.
Oh, right.
But U.S. copyright code doesn't let you copyright the mechanics for a game. It just lets you copyright the theme, right? So you can't have intellectual property and like you can't have intellectual property rights for like I roll dice and those dice tell me how many spaces to move. Right? And so that's where you get all these like knockoff monopolies is like they are, I mean, some of them are like owned by Hasbro or whoever owns Monopoly.
Yeah.
And so it's fine. But there are some that are just like, as long as you don't put all the things on the board in the same place, and as long as you don't like introduce like the basic like aesthetics of Monopoly, it's not a copyright infringement, right?
Yeah, it's like as long as you don't have like a square board where you pass go to collect something.
Well, you can even pass go. It's just like you can't call it jail and you can't call it go.
It can't be like Pennsylvania Railroad. And,
right.
Yeah. There has to be some kind of addition to it.
I say you can. The problem with copyright code is it only works if it's tested.
Mm-hmm.
And much like the education carve out for copyright that no one has ever bothered to like put to the test in the courts, neither has this notion that like game mechanics can't be copywritten, right? So based off the language of the law, I would say that like you don't really have to pay for textbooks. Like you could make photocopies of textbook chapters because it's an educational purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and most textbooks have some kind of stipulation within them too. And I think it's partially because of like it's not been tested really that much. Right. They'll say like you can take a chapter of this and
10% or whatever,
right? Yeah.
And it behooves those textbook companies not to test it.
Yeah.
Right. Like if they sue about that, then all of a sudden they open the floodgates for like, well, what if educational purpose means any educational purpose?
Yeah.
And our entire business model is thrown to the wind because our entire model is thrown to the wind because like the thing that we make money off of, textbooks, is not protected by copyright.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, but the same similar argument is made when it comes to like testing that copyright carve out for games and game mechanic systems.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Nintendo just released like a 10-minute play trailer kind of thing for Breath of the Wild, the sequel,
Mm-hmm.
which is coming out in May. And like one of the new things, not the only thing, but like one of the new things is that you can like fuse together different objects to create like new weapons and things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like if in the original, right, each weapon was individual, so you'd get
Yeah.
like a tree branch or whatever. And then in this one, where you can combine it with like a rock or something else, or like another thing, right,
Mm-hmm.
in order to create. I think I found a little secret down here.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, there's like some bone. There's like a Oh, yeah. Okay. But it was funny because in the comments, the most liked comment was somebody, and it was like, all these other open world game devs are going to be so mad that they didn't think of the fuse thing first, and they're never going to be able to use it. And I'm like, I'm sure they could use it, right? It's like
also there are lots of games where you can fuse weapons.
Yeah, exactly. Right? It's like, it's not like you were saying, it's not like that
right.
mechanic is somehow new. It might just end up being like everyone's gonna say like, oh, this is like Breath of the Wild if that's the most popular one. But of course, like you said, there's been plenty of other games that have used fuse before, right? Maybe it's just not in exactly that same way.
It's interesting. We'll see how that shakes out because Nintendo is notorious for like copyright protection, right? They're very protective of their copyright material because their entire corner of their market is based off their IP.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But I think especially with like a gameplay thing like that, right? Where it's that's not something that I think would hold water in a court.
Well, you say that, but Nintendo is also the platform that is very challenging to stream because they are the most frequently making copyright claims on streamers, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So it's tough to know like how they're gonna react to all that. But it's probably just a wall jump. It's just a wall jump.
There we go. Trying to make things too complicated. It's only the second level.
Oh, another secret door.
Yeah, it. I remember I was playing, I forget what game, but on the PS4 it'll say like there'll be a specific cutscene within a game, and it'll say like recording function stopped. You know,
Yeah,
for whatever.
that's most, because all of that is so the reason that people can get away with streaming games by and large is because the expectation is that the way you play the game is transformative enough. Oh shoot.
I got him.
Is transformative enough for the game that it produces enough of a difference, enough of a unique experience, right? And if you're looking at, I think we're gonna have to come back for those.
Yeah. I think there's something down here too.
Oh, I see it. But if you're using the game, if you're just watching FMVs from the game, like clearly that's not a unique experience, right?
But then it's also interesting too because there's also channels on YouTube that are specifically just like uncommentary, like no commentary playthroughs,
right? And they all have the video sped up by 10% or slowed down by 10% to avoid the algorithm.
Yeah, and there's YouTube channels specifically of like playthroughs of games. Oops.
Like movie modes.
And, so then people can use them in like video essays and things.
Yeah.
Right, like that's the purpose of it, which is like kind of interesting in a way. Because that would be
for
seen
you
to be,
as somebody who does research into games, right?
Yeah.
Like,
to me, it's like that would seem like those kinds of videos would be the first DCMA or DMCA takedowns, right? It's like that is no commentary; it's literally just playing through the game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
And then it's really
the mighty YouTube algorithm makes its choices, and we all just have to live by it.
And what happens a lot when a playthrough of a game gets blocked for whatever reason, most often it's because of like the music in it.
Yeah.
So like it's like the copyright and the music, the recording music industry has dealt with copyright for so long, they kind of already have.
Well, it's also like all that they have to bring to the table, and I don't mean that in a negative light. Like the music component is literally the only thing that is their copyright to protect.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like, of course they're gonna like be concerned about when, sorry.
No, you're good.
They're gonna be concerned about when music that they own is being exploited in that way, right?
Yeah, I think
forgetting I have to pop you.
I think too, though, it's like because copyright laws and things have been written and adjusted because of things like the recording industry.
Yeah.
Right. It's like there's also just a clearer. It's clearer, right, that this is copyright covered by copyright.
Well, it also protects established acts more than it protects new acts. Like, there's a lot of problems with copyright law.
Oh,
right?
Of course.
Like, if an established act happens to be in the studio the day that you write a song, technically you owe them a co-write because they inspired you to write the song, right? Like, there's a lot of very I guess I don't want to say manipulative, but
dubious.
Well, dubious for sure, and potentially like harmful, right?
Yeah.
Like clearly they know who they want to protect and who they don't in the industry, right? But it's something that the gaming industry hasn't had the same amount of time to deal with. It's also something that the gaming industry has a tradition of being very traditionally they have been very player friendly.
Yeah.
Right? Now I think that's changing with like microtransactions and everything else.
Yeah.
But they have a history of supporting their player base.
Yeah, because they want loyalty from their player base.
Well, yeah. You know, when you have an industry that's like monetarily driven by console wars, right? Like if people stop defending their consoles, you're gonna have big problems, you know.
The whole Toad story. Ooh.
game's kind of fun.
Ooh.
It reminds me of something.
It seems very like I think it's probably because Rayman came out in the early 2000s, but like the aesthetic like reminds me a lot of like those early 2000s kind of games, like PS2 era platforming kind of things, which I like.
Yeah.
I think a lot of Rayman as like, it's not exactly the same, but I think of the aesthetic as like very similar to like Rabbids in a way, where it's like that kind of that manic like, but like also like it's meant for kids, but also like it's designed
There's
to
enough
be
adult interest.
Yeah, and like it's designed in a way to like kind of tap into that like Nickelodeon era kind of.
It reminds me a lot of like Banjo Kazooie.
Yeah.
In a way, in the aesthetic.
I don't know if we need to do this. Oh well. Let's do it. This one's pretty easy.
I want a speed run. That's what I want. I want to be able to like sprint.
I do wonder though, just because I know, especially like the big players, like things like Disney and that kind of stuff, right? It's like they've been in video games for a while too, so like you'd feel like even these like legacy media companies would have a firmer grasp. But then again, it's not really their priority, right? It's like they're just expanding their market. They're not like focusing on video game development.
And they're just making, and honestly, they're not necessarily the ones that own the copyright to that content.
That's true. Yeah.
Right? Like they lease that their content to the developers for the developers to own the rights to enforce that copyright. And if the developers don't, there's nothing like, I mean, there's probably something Disney could do if Square Enix decides not to like defend Disney copyright for, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
The
Kingdom Hearts.
Kingdom
or whatever,
Hearts,
yeah.
But ultimately, like they've leased that to Square Enix, and they're making their 10% of revenue or whatever.
Oops. I think that might
and
be...
the streaming drives and the streaming drives sales, right?
Yeah.
Like if people aren't streaming those games, less people are buying them. So it benefits Disney to like let those standard industry conventions go.
Yeah.
You know,
I wonder too, because so much of this is like international conglomeration, right? It's like Disney works with Square Enix, who like really has to deal mostly with Japanese copyright laws, but then also it's like, you know, so I think that complicates
more and more. I mean,
too.
Square Enix is all but left North America. They've really they shuttered a lot of their American dev offices.
Yeah. So to me, it's like,
I did it again. Damn it!
Wait, this is the. Yep, there we go. Ooh, I don't think we went to the left over here. Oh no! There we go. Now we got them all, or almost them all. Yeah, and so I think that complicates things too, right? Again, like most films, even most films, Hollywood films, like you can say like they have, mostly produced in America, and like even if they're produced in, they're filmed in something like Canada, you're really dealing with a company that was founded and based in America.
Well, and like the Canadian film industry is it's popped off so much that it benefits Canadian filmmakers to just take the lead of American studios. Right? Like it doesn't benefit Canadian filmmakers to like really stress about, well, do we care about this as much as they do? Ultimately, because they make a ton of money. Like Cinema Alberta or whatever, Vancouver and Alberta are making a ton of money by being the place where American television is shot. Because the unions are less strong and the pay rate is less substantial. Mostly because there's less competition.
Yeah. All right, this is the. There we go. Yeah, so I think that just complicates things too, right? And then of course you're working with these companies like Google, right, for YouTube, or Amazon for Twitch, which themselves are like their own weird international, not, it's like there's so many layers of like who owns what and who is liable for what, that it just really gets away from what copyright law was designed to do in many ways, right?
I think a lot of copyright law, it is intended to protect creative endeavors, but I think it ends up limiting creative endeavors.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
At least as often, right?
Yeah, because like, of course, copyright was like originally designed to give people right the authority over their creations, right? But of course, then you have things like Disney, petitioning lobbyists to like let them keep
that's
Mickey Mouse or things like that, right? It's like it's just a tool and it can be used in a number of ways.
If it wasn't an issue of like, if it wasn't for the legal system, copyright would be a very valuable tool, but it ends up being an issue where like the wealthiest side gets to be the one that's right because they can afford the most lawyers in order to like support their argument, right? Which gets frustrating, but
because I think part of, if I'm not mistaken, part of the point of copyright in the beginning was that you had individuals who would create things, right, and then like somebody else would create the same right? It's like trying to
would duplicate it, and then like
it's like trying to give the individual, so then like people that did have more money and resources that could just steal your idea and make it their own thing, right, would get all the money from it.
Right.
But
there's also like, I don't know, there's a lot of issues in terms of like some people can't afford to file copyrights, right? And so like you end up with a lot of people that get their stuff stolen because the copyright process is expensive. And when I was doing music, there used to be like, you used to be able to do like a poor man's copyright where you would put all your music on a CD and then you would just mail it to yourself and leave it in the envelope.
Oh no!
And as long as you left it in the envelope, and like it was a post dated envelope, and so you just like would take it in and be like, no, this is my property. I wrote it in 2002. Here's the post stamp from it. And I'm opening it in front of you, Judge. So, but for whatever reason, like that is no longer admissible, frankly. Which proves that it's an issue of like established acts getting priority, right? Because all that does is say, like, the reason that becomes like not admissible moot is because you have somebody who said like, who used that argument, and then you have a distributor, music publisher who says like, actually we don't like that, because it proves that we're wrong or whatever. But I don't know. But it ends up being like, I think it's like you copyright a minimum of like 20 documents, or a maximum of 20 documents at a time, and it's like $100 for 20 documents.
Oh my jeez.
And so for like the fees and stuff, so it ends up costing quite a bit of money if you're trying to,
Wait, why did I do that? I feel like this one was deceptively simpler than the others. I don't know, maybe that's just me.
The secret door, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like I saw the door and I ran towards it.
I don't know that the secret doors are actually all that secret, if I'm honest.
Maybe it's just because we've played so many games. We're like,
Yeah.
we will know where it's going to be.
It could be.
Oh goodness, I'm really falling behind. I bet there's more down here.
Oh, we missed
Oh,
a
we
dude.
missed it. We missed the queen. Huh. Apparently we did miss a secret door. Look at that. Oh, looks like we got a first time chat.
Oh, look at that. Hi, I want to offer promote. Oh.
No! Our one chat is a bot.
I have to put it in this. One day I'll remember exactly how to delete things.
Fiesta de los Muertos. Uh-oh. Party of Death. Nope, not what I wanted. I did not want this one. I accidentally put us in the wrong portrait.
Oh, can we go out?
Yeah. There we go. Ooh. Rescue Barbara. I don't know.
I don't know who Barbara is. Maybe Barbara is the bee.
Dungeon Dash. Oh, they do have. I remember this game does have some like kind of rhythm based levels. Maybe
Oh,
this
really?
might be one of them. Yeah. Oh, got some fire coming our way. Well. Up. That was my bad. I'm sorry.
This is why I want a sprint button.
Ooh. Yep. Oh shoot! Yeah. Oh no! Yay!
We did it. We
There
rescued
we go.
Barbara.
We rescued Barbara. Oh, didn't quite make it. I love a game like a platformer or something that it does not have a lot of narrative to it. Because sometimes it's just nice to like
Zone out.
Yeah, it's just like I don't need to worry about a story. It's like I don't know who this person is, but I guess we just saved her. Oop, and now I turned into her. I guess I'll keep her. She has a battle axe.
Cool.
Ropes course.
Yeah, but it's a bunch of those hangy vine guys.
Mm-hmm. I am weird though. I like listening to podcasts while I play games.
Yeah.
So like I'm replaying Breath of the Wild right now because I want to get ready, emotionally ready for the next one. And I love to just play it and like wander around Hyrule and listen to a podcast. It's just so nice.
Yeah, I guess like when I was growing up, I would just get like albums and listen to them while I played. I've never been like a listen to the game music kind of guy. So I remember like for whatever reason I associate with Final Fantasy X like the first Matchbox 20 album and 311 and
cool.
Like whatever the name of the album, the Chili Peppers album with like Other Side on it was.
There's a little guide. Yeah, because it's like
like I would just like I had like a 5-disc changer or whatever in my room that I would put albums into and then just zone out and grind. But
yeah, I usually like the first time when I play a game, especially a game like Zelda where the music is like really like a really important part of, especially like the newest one where like the soundtrack is meant to be very like sparse and like sometimes I'll listen to music and things like that, but especially the first time I play a game I like to be able to take in the soundtrack. But with some games it's like I don't really care all that much. Oops, sorry.
Yeah, I guess I also watch a lot of like YouTube podcasts while I play games, I think. Or like I'll binge show. Like that's how I got on this like Taskmaster research project, is I would just like binge have several episodes of Taskmaster going on in the background while I zone out to a game or whatever.
Yeah, I do that too. I do it a lot with like news, which is probably not the best, but I like listening to like news podcasts and things while I play games.
Well, it's been really bad for my ADHD because now it's to the point where I can't just watch TV. Like there are very few things that I'm interested in enough to like focus exclusively on TV to like watch.
Yeah, I actually I started watching Succession because it just popped up on my HBO Max and I'm like, okay. And I watched it at the gym because like that's the only time where I'm like standing or I'm like stationary looking out in front of me for 30 minutes.
That's where I started like doing audiobooks at the gym for a while because it was the only time where I could dedicate that much time to fiction. Like, I mean, you know how it is. There's so much assigned reading in graduate school.
Oh my gosh, yeah. My boyfriend is like getting very big into books right now. Like he just finished A Little Life, which is like 800 pages. Read it in a week. So he's like doing
like a long ass book.
Yeah. He's very big into books right now and I'm like I just can't right now. Yeah. Like I'm just so, even though right now I'm mostly doing writing instead of reading. Right. It's like
it's a quiet process too though. Like it's tough to like, you know, I get it.
Ooh. And it's just like I just don't want to. I'll listen to podcasts and things that talk about intellectual stuff or whatever you want to call it, right? But it's like I just don't want to read right now.
Yeah.
Oop. There we go.
I don't know. It's tough. I was listening on the way in today NPR was doing they were talking to, I forget her name, but they were talking about psychological weathering, which was really interesting.
Oh yeah, I caught little bits and pieces of it on my drive here.
Yeah, it's also referred to as chronic stress disorder, which like it was amusing because what my sister and my niece were in town for Thanksgiving, and I had just finished giving Disney shit about. Well, they talk about chronic stress disorder, and they're like attributing like Chris Hemsworth has chronic stress disorder because
right,
he's always so busy, and I was like, that's not what that is. Like, Chris Hemsworth has the money to like have people do his chores for him, and also he opts to take those jobs.
Yeah,
like it's not chronic stress.
Even
disorder.
though he would be totally fine if he did not take that job.
Yeah, but ultimately that means that's not what chronic stress disorder is.
You know, it was so funny. I listened to Wait, Don't Tell Me because I'm a middle-aged man,
right?
But
don't say that. You're not middle-aged yet. No.
If
you're middle-aged, it means I'm middle-aged.
Emotionally, I'm a Midwest dad.
Well, that's fair. I'm definitely Midwest dad age.
But they always do this show called Bluff the Listener, or a game Bluff Listener, where they have to come up with stories and one of the three is right. And they were talking about a new type of therapy. And so it was like, I forget what it was, and the real one was D&D therapy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I remember talking about that. And everyone was like, D&D therapy, what? And I'm like,
shut up.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've heard.
Don't be critical, shut up. I need this to work.
Ooh, quicksand.
That must be a bad, weird, phallic monster.
Yes. It's clear because he has the wizard's cape.
Yeah. No mustache, though.
No.
I expect him to be twirling a mustache.
It's very interesting what signifiers are like. This is how we know this person is evil, right? Although in this way it's very tongue-in-cheek, right? It's not meant to be like, oh, you can run.
There's a Z button?
Yeah, the ZR.
Oh.
I didn't know. Shoot. I was gonna say, I thought there was a run at some point.
Maybe we just hadn't earned it yet.
Ooh, and if you hold ZR when you jump 2, you jump farther on a wall jump.
Oh shoot.
Oof.
Oh, we did it.
Oof! Luckily she ducked without me having to do it. I love levels like this, though.
Really?
Yeah, where it's like...
These are the levels that, like, key people off normally.
I love it, though, because it's like, it feels like you're moving. You're really only staying in one place, right?
It's super... That's why these levels happened. Is because people were trying to do these kinds of levels for Mario, and they couldn't get the graphics to render in time. And so they had to, like, do these, like, levels where your character doesn't actually move in the space.
Poor Teensy. He got thrown in the sand. Oop! I don't know if you saw, I did a little split action. Yeah, I know a lot of people don't like auto scroller levels, but I love them. I just think it's so fun to like take everything you think you know about the game, right, and then be like, it's different now, right?
Those little tricks are super. Even as little as like making the level go to the left instead of the right. Like Those kinds of things are wild to me, that they're so like successful.
Yeah, and they're so fundamentally like
they feel so
shifting,
different,
right? Yeah. Oop. Right, because it's not only I think part of it too is like it's also kind of, it's not only messing with like your physical, right? So like
Yeah.
your eye movement is different, right? Your controller,
Right.
how you hold your controller is different, but it's also like messing with genre too, right?
Yeah.
It's like not only, it's like the game, if you want to call it narrative or whatever, right? What you come to expect from the game is
Conventions.
the conventions are being shifted because we associate the 2D platformer with going to the right. Right. So like even it's something as simple as like going to the left, right? Or like I always thought it was really cool, kind of like in the first level of this game where you get plopped and then like the first secret is to your left, right? You have to go back to the left to find the first secret. And I was like, I just always think that's so cool.
It makes me think about like how Arabic speaking folks feel, like a language that is right to left instead of left to right. Like, because that's ultimately why we think about games as going to the right, is because that's how we read, and like we're just used to moving in that direction.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me to think about languages that are written from right to left instead, and how much disconnect there was when games started, when platformers started, for folks that are not used to, I don't know, tracking in that direction.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's just like we just kind of think like, oh, things go from the left to the right? It just becomes ingrained, even though we know, like we can know in our, for the frontal lobe, prefrontal cortex, or critical thinking part of your brain, is like, that it's not that way, but we just become so accustomed to it. And then of course when the genre itself develops and games that become really popular, right? It becomes
a convention
over
of the
time,
genre rather than just like because
something
that's
that
how
happens
people
to be
read. Yeah. Oh shoot! I probably should have used him to jump up.
Maybe I can try jumping on you. Oop. Oop. Okay, sorry. Let's try once more. Oh, there's nothing up there.
Oh, great.
We're just so good.
There should be something up there.
It makes me think too about, I'm just thinking about Breath of the Wild and everything because it's so good. But too, even something as simple as just making it so in this game, instead of every time your weapon gets like close to breaking, it breaks. Right now,
that was the most tedious part about Breath of the Wild, is I always felt like the weapons broke twice as fast as they should have.
And now in this one too, right? It's like you can fuse it with other things in order to make it not break so fast, right? And it's like even that gives you just a different orientation to the world around you, right? Because it's like now how you treat your weapons is going to be changed.
You're not going to hit things for the sake of hitting things anymore.
Yeah, or you're going to feel like you have more freedom to hit different things, right? Because I feel like there's something down here. There is. How did I know? There we go. Right, because then it's like, oh, I know that if this tree branch is about to break, I can just fuse it to this rock that's nearby, right? And then it becomes like a completely new...
It's a club now instead,
Yeah, and so it just like changes how you think and react to the world around you, which I think is like what Breath of the Wild and the best open world games do really well, is it gives you a set of tools to interact with the world around you, and then it like gives you the freedom to think through like and be creative with how you would use the tool in that world. And they kind of create it, it's almost like sandboxy in a way, right?
I mean, that's ultimately the value of tabletop therapy, right? Is it's giving players this tool set to use in the real world when they translate from a game world to a non-game world.
Ooh. There we go. I feel like, and that might be, I don't know too much about D&D, so I might be reading too much into it. But I do feel like the same way too, where like D&D does have a lot of rules, I get it, but also it has like enough unwritten about it
Sure.
where you can kind of it can emerge, right?
I mean, one of the
emerge
main
your own.
rules of D&D is like, if the rules work, use them.
Yeah.
And if they don't, do something else, right? Like, and that's written into like the rule set from the publishers, which is a little bit of a cop out, I think. But
Oop. It's like, oh yeah, if our game design was bad, just do whatever.
It's a little bit
just
like,
do whatever.
if it doesn't work for your table, don't worry about it. I'm like, well, make a game design that works for the tables. Like, oh, those are vents. There's gonna be fire. I found the fire.
Oh, shoot.
Well, at least we both made the same dumb mistake.
And this is why I enjoy a platformer like this, because the whole point of it, right, is to get you to engage with the puzzles and everything that they put up. So like losing a life is not that serious. Right, which I think is helpful because the whole point is they want you to engage with it. They don't want you to get frustrated and stop playing. I do think some platformers do you can get a lot of joy out of it being really complicated and really hard. But I do enjoy a platformer like this where even if the feat itself is difficult, right, it's not really too bad of punishment, right? You just have to start back a little bit earlier. It's the same thing with Donkey Kong Country. Like, they have lives in the new Donkey Kong Countries, but they don't mean anything. Like, they're just...
It's a game that is built to be completed.
Yeah.
Versus, like, I think, and that's the value, is, like, the publishers of this game want players to have the accomplishment of finishing the game. Right? You made it. That's good.
Up. There we go. Yep. Shoot. Yep. Having two players is very helpful.
Well, it seems like this is very much a multiplayer game because it seems like one of the core mechanics is to save your friend, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not even just like a thing that had to be put in because you want people to play together. It's a thing that, like, this is a core mechanic of the game. Like, the intentionality of, like, I'm gonna go get that thing and then die so you can bring me back. So we have the thing.
Ooh, graveyard. All of a sudden, we're just like from the graveyard to the skies.
Ooh. So that's like How to Train a Dragon vibes.
Yeah, I think the world or the level was called How to Shoot Your Dragon.
Oh, I see. It's intentional. That's clever.
Oh.
Huh.
Oh, we're getting a lot of power-ups, I think. Oh, yeah. We can punch now.
Oops. Well, one of us made it. That's what's important.
Was ist die Zeit?
But
What's the time?
Oh, 12:57.
12:57. Oof.
I want to buy today.
Yeah.
It must be a
It's
fun
because
game.
it's a fun game. Yeah. It's just. I mean, I think this is What's this? Let's see. Breathing fire. Ooh. I think this might be a boss fight. We'll see. We'll see if we can get it done in 3 minutes.
Oh, it's only 90-degree shooting. That's rough.
Yeah. For some reason, maybe my button's just being weird. There we go. Oop. Oop.
You can charge up your slaps.
Ooh. I do like the design of like the dragon with the really big head. It's just a fun design.
Shoot. Jeez.
Yep. There we go.
I think we've figured it out mostly. But now we have a different angle.
Whoop.
Oh! Platform mechanics in a boss fight.
Oop.
Oops.
Oh. It's not looking too good.
Tried so hard.
And got so far.
And in the end, it
Didn't even matter. Oh! Oh! I'm not sure how. Okay. Yay! You gotta love it. The physical comedy.
Yeah. Sloppy flying. It's because the holes in his wings.
There we go. Aw, man.
One of their constellations is a clothesline.
Yeah, clothesline, a pig. Got shot into the pig's butt.
Oh, little demons.
Nice.
This is a cute game.
Yeah.
I like this game.
It's really fun. And it's not super long either. I think it's only like... I think like if you want to get like all the trophies and everything, it'd be like 20 hours. But it's just a nice...
It's more, I think it's more Crash Bandicoot than it is Mario.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cool. Well, that was the end of our month. So I'm going to only be around for 2 lunch zones in April. Because I'm going to be gone to a conference one week.
2 lunch zones in April.
Yeah. But I was thinking we do some games to do with environmental stuff. Just because April
that's a cool idea.
is Earth
Day, Arbor Day.
So we'll maybe play something to do with environmental thingies
some kind of
next week.
Pro-environmental terrorism games.
Yeah. So that's what we'll do. Thank you, Bot, for joining us and leaving a comment. And we will see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.